In the case of Fisher v. Bell, a guy had an ejector knife. An ejector knife showed on display in a shop with the price next to it. And the police constable went by and he saw the knife and he decided to go in because it looked suspicious. At the time, the ejector knives were prohibited. And the constable asked to examine the knife, and when he examined it, he found that it was the prohibited knife. So he decided to take the guy and prosecute him for having a prohibited article, for posting to sale a prohibited article. But when they got to court, it was found that, without deciding whether the knife in question was a knife of the kind described in the statute, decided that the information must be dismissed on the ground that there had not been an offer to sale. So by putting the knife on the window with the price next to it, the guy had never it was an invitation to treat rather than an offer to sale. So the guy didn't go out to the people who wanted to buy the knife and offer it to them. It was an invitation to treat because they could come in and buy the knife at the shop without the guy having to offer the knife to them. Precedent v. statutory law. The advantages of precedent law is that there is certainty. It creates certainty within the law and means solicitors and barristers can advise their clients in portable outcome of their case. So this makes it easy for lawyers and solicitors to advise their clients on how the case should be, or whether the case will be successful, whether the case won't be successful, and stuff like that. Fairness. Everybody who has committed a similar crime before, gets to be treated in the same way because the cases are compared, and if the ruling before and the ruling that is present are the same, then the same ruling is going to take place. The disadvantages. The overruling of an earlier case may cause injustices to those who have ordered their affairs in reliance to it. So anybody who has done the offence before is treated unfairly if the ruling of the case that comes in later is criminalized. So that means everybody who's done it before gets criminalized as well, whilst they would have relied on the law that was made at that particular time. And very few cases get to the laws, which is the only court which can overrule one of its own previous decisions. If many decisions don't get to the House of Laws, that means that there are many decisions which are made at lower case level, which cannot be, which have a law that is obsolete. So, for example, in the case of RVR, rape only became criminalized until 1991. So all this time, all the other cases that were brought into court, they weren't being taken into consideration, and they weren't dealt necessarily in the way that they should have. And this case, such as this, the fact that this case, such as this, only became criminalized after 1991 shows that there had been lack of funding and lack of people taking the courts to the higher courts for the decision. The golden rule. This rule is to ignore an absurd outcome which Parliament could have not possibly intended. In the case of Alder v. George, under the Official Secrets of 1930, it was an offence to obstruct a member of the armed forces in the vicinity of a prohibited palace. The defendant was actually in the prohibited palace rather than in the vicinity of it at the time of the obstruction. The court applied the golden rule. It would be absurd for a person to be liable if they were near to a prohibited place and not if they were actually in it. This conviction was therefore upheld.